I'm like, oh, get in the middle and be double stuff, so I might include that. I hope so. I like that sort of that. I like it rough. There you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You are doing the Lord's work. Never change. Thank you. Great river. Very lucky. Thank you, thank you. We woke up early and saw that PLO was still running from the night before, so it's before 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and we're hopping in with our first hand of the session being a $15 double board bomb pot. In the big blind, we're dealt ace-9, 6-5 with 3 spades to our ace. The flops come down 10-9-4 with 2 hearts and king-7-4 with 2 spades. The small blind announces fold and just mucks their hand. We check from the big blind. Yes, we flop the nut flush draw and an open-ended straight draw on the bottom board, but on the top board, we don't have a ton going for us. Ali from our previous vlogs bets the full pot of $120 from the cutoff. We call, and Under the Gun and the hijack are also in as well, so we're going 4 ways to a turn. The turns fall the 6 of diamonds and the 8 of hearts. We've turned a weak 2 pair on the top board, but we drilled the absolute nuts on the bottom board and we announce pot. The dealer says it's 500, then later tells us it's 550, so we put that out. Under the Gun thinks for a bit and calls. Ali is all in for less with $95. The rivers fall the 3 of spades and the ace of clubs. We still have the nuts on one board and we shove our last 315 into the middle. Our opponent thinks for a bit again before announcing call. For the side pot, we wind up chopping as our opponent shows down Jack 8, 7, 3. Ali winds up folding and we chop the main pot up as well. I want my blacks back. Oh, you want your blacks back? Give them all reds.
Can you guys do that after I chop it? Give them all reds. You get the extra one.
Oh. Thank you. I can't. I did that yesterday, the first hand too. I sat down and I just won the first hand.
It, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
We're in the small blind holding ace-king, 9-7 suited in clubs and diamonds. There's 2 limpers and the button is an aggressive British fellow and he makes it $20. We call. The big blind folds and both limpers call. We go 4 ways to a flop of king, queen, 10 with 2 diamonds and 1 club. We flop top pair, top kicker, a gut shot straight draw, the 4th nut flush draw, and backdoor nut club draw, and check as we're out of position against multiple opponents. It's check to Ali in the cutoff, who bets a meager $25. The button calls, we call, and now the middle position player check raises the full pot. Ali shoves all in. We wind up laying it down, and let's see what happens. Wow. All right, I'll let this one go.
I'm asking you, do you want to go once or twice?
Good luck, Ali.
Go on, Ali. No, no, you're 175 exactly. Can you win?
Oh, I make diamonds. God damn it. I had 9 high diamonds. I couldn't, you know. So today we happen to be wearing not only our Captain America hat, but our Captain America shirt for the matching pair, I guess. So anyway, here's some dialogue from the table that transpired because of it. Oh, is it on me? I'm sorry. All right, we are under the gun. We limp in like a bitch with that.
I hope you put that in.
I always put that. I make fun of myself on this vlog. We got 2 callers.
Can I make fun of yourself?
There's a raise to 20. No, there's a raise to 30. Yeah, man.
Matching fucking
America.
I can do this all day.
30. Well, I mean, you know, we both have the same physique, so.
I know.
All right, so button makes it 30. It's Ali. We're 4 players to a flop. Flop is king of diamonds, jack of spades, 6 of hearts.
I just want to say.
You should see my Captain America underwear.
I'm hungry.
On my underoos, yeah.
125.
You got your fucking shield. Every morning you wake up, you're like, how does that fucking shield work, man? It like defies physics. They bring some crack to you.
It's another $15 double board bomb pot. We're 7-handed, and under the gun dealt ace jack 6-6 suited in hearts to our ace. The flops come down 10-8-2 all hearts and jack 10-8 rainbow. We flop the stone cold nutter butters on the top board and top pair top kicker on the bottom board. When it's checked to us, we announce pot betting 105. The cutoff and button both call. The turns follow the 3 of diamonds and the 4 of clubs. We still have the nuts on the top board, and while we aren't very strong on the bottom board, with a potential straight already possible, we can put pressure on 2-pair hands that may be beating us, possibly forcing a fold and allowing us to scoop the whole pot. We bet the full pot of 420. The cutoff once again calls. Hali on the button is all in for less for 175. Oh shit, this can't be good. The rivers fall the 2 of clubs and the 10 of spades, so now both boards have paired on the river. We check and the cutoff now bets 500, which covers us. Now I'm in the blunder. There's effectively over $1,800 in the pot, and we have to call off our last 400, so we're getting more than 4-1 on a call, although you have to factor in there are 2 boards, so if we're only playing for 1 board, our price is cut in half, and it's possible against 2 opponents we're losing both runouts. However, there's also 3 10s on the board and 2 8s out, so that only leaves 2 combos of 10-8 remaining and 1 combo of pocket 8s that beat us on both boards. Yes, there are some other hand combos that could potentially scoop us on both boards. We're just trying to consider the ones that are most likely. In the end, we feel priced in and we call it off, and we get shown the bad news, as our opponent in the cutoff turns over King 8, 8-5, having flopped a set on both boards and filled up on both rivers to scoop us.
I got the nut flush and ace
I
jack.
know, that's funny because that's what I said to them.
Huh?
I said exactly
Yeah,
that.
the
You
four
know,
on the
there's
bottom.
Uber, you know.
This guy, of course he does.
He's
got pocket ace.
Eights full of deuces and eights full of tens.
Nice hand. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Nah, shit happens. What am I gonna do?
Under the gun, the cheeky aggressive Brit has raised it up to 15, and we have Jack 9, 9-8 suited in clubs to our Jack in early position. We make the call. The hijack calls, the button calls, the small blind calls, the big blind calls. That's how much respect this under the gun player gets. We're going 6 ways to a flop, and the flop comes down King 8-8, rainbow. The blinds in the original razor check to us. We flop 3 8s, and we decide to bet out now. We may have the best hand, and if we don't have the best hand, we'll likely find out. We don't want to have this check through and let someone outdraw us on the turn or pick up a draw that gives them additional equity. We bet 75, although I think a bet of 60 might accomplish the same thing while risking less for the times we're beat, but they all wind up folding and we're going to take this one down. We are 8-handed in middle position playing a double board bomb pot, and we look down at King 9, 6-4, double suited in spades and diamonds. The flops come down Ace 7-5 rainbow and 7-5-4 with 2 clubs. Everyone checks it over to the button, who bets the full pot of $120. Ali in the blinds makes the call, and we wind up calling as well. We have an open-ended straight draw on the top board plus backdoor diamonds, and on the bottom board we have bottom pair plus an open-ended straight draw. Looking back at this spot, our call is marginal, as our draws aren't overly strong and we are facing 2 opponents. If we were just up against the button, who could be trying to steal, it'd be a little better of a call, but with a 3rd player in the mix, I'm not so sure I love my call here. I don't think it's awful, but a fold may be better long term. We're going 3 ways to the turns, which fall the Queen of Clubs and the Jack of Spades. Fortunately, nobody seems to like the turn cards, as it's checked all the way around. The rivers fall the Queen of Spades and the 3 of Hearts. We have nothing on the top board. On the bottom board, we've rivered straight, but it's not the nuts. Unfortunately, it's checked down, so we're likely good for half here. Hali shows down Jack 8, 3-2 with 3 clubs, and the player on the button reveals King 6, 6-3 with 2 hearts. So the player in the cutoff has the same straight as us on the bottom board, as he scoops the top board with queens and 6s, so he's getting 3/4 of this pot. He's also the same player who stacked me earlier when he rivered full houses on both boards of a double board bomb pot, but apparently winning all this money just doesn't make him happy.
4 on the bottom. And here, King, Ace. Jack. He's got it straight on the bottom, 6-4. Keep it, yeah, I have that straight. Yeah, same. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
you
same
got
straight.
sixes, yeah,
Yep.
chop on the bottom. And sixes. You're looking at pair of sixes.
Pair of sixes on the top, yep.
Queens and sixes are going to take the top.
So he's gonna get 3/4.
Yeah, he gets 3/4.
Yeah, you're going to get 3/4.
You're gonna get 3/4.
Hey, come on, man. You've been having to. What are you complaining about? You stacked me in the last double board. You scooped me. Now you get 3/4. Guys never have. There's no pleasing this guy.
I've only had 1 3/4 hand. Not even 2 hands yet.
I'll take my paltry sum here. You tip him. I'm not tipping him. Captain America doesn't believe in tips. Under the gun has straddled to 10. There's 2 callers. Oh, surprise, surprise. Our aggressive friend from across the pond raises it to 50. We look down at double-suited kings in the cutoff. King 6-5 to be exact, with spades and diamonds. And today we choose violence, repotting it to $185. The blinds and one of the limpers fold. Ali is all in for 75, and our cheeky British friend calls. The flop comes down, Queen 9-5 rainbow. Our opponent checks, and this isn't a great flop for us. We've got an overpair, but there's a number of straight draws that present concerns, and while we have some blockers, we don't feel strong enough to bet here. Fortunately, we do have backdoor spades and diamonds in this spot, so we check it back to see what develops on the turn. The turn comes the jack of spades, and now our aggressive friend bets out $175. We block the nuts, and we've picked up the second nut flush draw. I think there's some merit to just potting it here and rolling the dice, as our opponent could be semi-bluffing with hands that have equity against us, but I think that's better when you're playing out of position. And since we have position on our opponent, we opt to just call, ensuring we keep his bluffs in and forcing him to act first on the river. You've got to be fucking kidding me. The river comes the 7 of hearts. He checks, and we'll take our showdown value and we check it back. He announces 2 pairs showing down 7-5-4-3. So on the flop, we were close to 70% equity against his hand. On the turn, over 82% equity to beat him. And like the big banks, he's just fucking bailed out for his fuckery. If Austin, Texas had a harbor, I'd be dumping some tea into it, you British son of a bitch. 2 pairs gonna be good.
For the side pot, let's see it. 7s and 5s. 7s and 5s. There's kings.
This is the shit I lose to, guys. This is the shit.
And for the main.
I don't play that.
Jacks, yeah. Yep, nice, good.
7 on the river.
Yeah, 7s and 5s are going to take it.
Wow. All right, this is the cheeky Brit who got me with that 7-5-4-3 bullshit. He's trying to. There we go. This is the other guy. Oh wait, there we go.
Okay.
Talk to the camera.
What do you want to ask me?
What's wrong with you?
Why did I call that?
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Under the gun limps in, and we're under the gun +1, and we call holding ace-ace, king-8 with 3 spades. Early position calls, the button calls, the small blind calls, the big blind completes, and we go 6 ways to a flop, which is an interesting one, falling ace-7-6, all diamonds. It's checked around. The turn is the 10 of clubs, and once again, it's checked around. I work in mysterious ways, bitches! The river is the 6 of clubs. Now Hali in the small blind bets 20, and that cheeky British bastard in the big blind raises to 50. Now we pop it to 200, they both fold, and we take it. 3 players have limped, and now the cutoff makes it 25. We're on the button holding ace-ace, queen-10, suited in hearts to our ace. Given we're on the button with a hand that plays well heads up or multi-way, we're fine letting the rest of the field come in, and we just make the call. 2 of the limpers make the call, and we're going 4-handed to a flop, which comes down ace-8-7 with 2 diamonds. When it's checked to us, this flop is extremely dangerous given straight and flush draws we don't have, so we bet the full pot of $110. Hali gets it all in for less. We agree to run it twice, and he reveals 9-8-6-5 with 2 spades. The first run out is the 2 of hearts and the 5 of diamonds. The second run out is the 9 of diamonds and the queen of hearts. So unfortunately for us, our opponent manages to hit his straights on both runouts. Our top set doesn't hold up. Looking at the equities when the money goes in on the flop, we're essentially a coin flip with a slight advantage at 51% equity. Now, if we change just one card, Switching our 10 of hearts for a 10 of diamonds, we would have had 72% equity, and we'd have scooped since both boards flushed as well, but that's not the case this time, and we're going to double Holly up. The $10 straddle is on. There's 2 callers. We look down in the cutoff at Ace-8, 7-6 double suited, and diamonds and spades. We make the call, the small blind and big blind call. The straddle checks their option, and we're going 6 ways to a flop. The flop falls 9-4-3 with 2 spades. It's checked around, and the turn is the ace of spades. Holly bets out 25, and we make the call. We go 3 ways to the river, and Holly has checked dark. The river falls the jack of spades. We have the 5th nuts, and I don't think we're going to push many better flushes off their hands if we bet, nor do I think worse flushes will give us much value, so we check, and the 3rd player does as well. Holly announces he has an ace. The 3rd player turns over Queen 5-4-3 suited in spades to their 5, and we have the winner. We're in the hijack in a $15 double board bomb pot 8-handed, and we look down at Jack 9-8-4 suited in clubs to our jack. The flops come out King 6-2 rainbow and 9-8-3 with 2 diamonds. It winds up checked around, and the turns fall the Queen of diamonds and the 8 of hearts. Well, hello there. On the top board, we've picked up a gut shot straight draw to the 2nd nuts, just needing to bink a 10 on the river to get there. But the real nice thing is on the bottom board, we've turned 8s full of 9s, the 2nd nuts only having to be concerned about someone having one combo of 9-9 in their hand. And that's unlikely since no one bet the flop. So at this point, it's safe to assume we have the effective nuts on that board, although someone else with an 8 could outdraw us on the river by making a bigger full house, so we bet the full pot of $120 for value and protection. One of the blinds calls, the early position player calls, and we're going 3-handed to the rivers, which fall the 6 of spades and the jack of diamonds, so we haven't got anything on the top board, but we should still have the effective nuts on the bottom. Someone with the last 2 jacks in the deck is also beating us on this board, but worrying about that is essentially seeing monsters under the bed. If someone else happened to have 8-9 in their hand, we've now just outdrawn them on the chop by hitting our bigger kicker. We bet the full pot of $480, feeling confident we have at least half this pot secured. The player in the blinds fold, and the player in early position folds, and we take it down. We're in the cutoff holding the very pretty Queen Jack, Jack 10 suited in spades to our jack. Under the gun calls, under the gun +1 calls, the hijack calls, we call, the button calls, the small blind calls, and the big blind calls. We are going 7 ways to a flop of ace 10-2 all diamonds. When it's checked to me, I block the 2nd nut flush, and I decide to run a cheap bluff, betting the full pot of 35. If we encounter any resistance, we can shut down, but our image as a tight player might allow us to get this through. The big blind unfortunately makes the call, and we're going heads up to a turn. The turn is the 9 of hearts. He checks, and I just don't get the feeling he's all that strong here, so it's time to cash in on that tight image of mine. I rarely bluff, so I have a lot of bluff equity saved up, so we bet the full pot again. Having position against our opponent here is really useful. He might have a 2-pair hand here that was trying to fill up on the turn, but that won't be able to stand another bet. He winds up laying it down, and we get the bluff through. We're in the small blind looking down at 9-8, 7-5 with 2 spades to our 8. A tight player in the hijack raises to 15. We're only 6-handed at this point. The cutoff calls, the button calls, and our hand is coordinated enough that we can call this raise as our hand plays decent enough against the hijack's range here. The big blind comes along as well, so out of 6 players at the table, we're going 5 ways to a flop, which falls Jack 10-8 with 2 clubs. We flop the bottom straight, but our hand will be hard-pressed to improve. There's already a higher straight possible, a number of cards that bring in bigger straights for some combos of hands our opponents may have, and the looming threat of the club flush draw, which we don't have. Being out of position against multiple opponents, this is a clear check, and we may even check fold depending on the action. Unfortunately, it's checked around, so it's unlikely any of our opponents is sitting on the nuts with Queen 9. We're hoping for a brick on the turn like the 2 of diamonds so we can start betting. The turn falls the 7 of hearts. This doesn't change the board texture, and given the flop action, we should still have the effective nuts at this point, so it's time to start betting. We go for a 2/3 pot-sized bet, putting out $50. It may look like we're just trying to buy it since it was checked around on the flop.
Make sure you tell them hammers in the
50. Hammers in the box. Wants you all to know. The original raiser calls, and we're going heads up to a river. The river is the jack of spades. We don't like seeing the board pair, although we'd be more worried if a club or a non-pairing Broadway card fell, as those were the most likely draws we'd be up against. Still, we check and we breathe a little sigh of relief when our opponent checks it back. We announce our straight and he mucks and we take it down. Hammer's the best dealer in the room.
Yeah, you say that now.
This hand. So despite getting scooped and quartered in 2 double board bomb pots and losing to my opponent's second pair on that nasty river, we still managed to only lose $840 this session, which feels like a win. You may have noticed in the top visual of the new layout that I am starting to include my position at the table. I also mentioned it during the narration, but that's thanks to viewer 0580 Steve, who recommended it in my last vlog. I've incorporated that, so I hope you appreciate it. And Steve, thanks for the suggestion. And that's going to be a wrap for this week. We will see you guys in the next episode. Wishing you all a very happy holiday season.
You know, after watching a video like this, sometimes I'll like it, sometimes I'll leave a comment, and sometimes I'll subscribe. Sometimes I'll even do all 3.